Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Becoming Iris. So for those of you who are just tuning in for the first time today, I'd encourage you to also go back and listen to the past recordings. And this is my personal journey. So I'm inviting guests on who have specifically impacted me and been part of my journey. And today I'm delighted to have a very special guest, Charley, also known as Firemane.
Are you a starseed? Do you have a mission here on Earth? Do you sometimes struggle to fit in? You're in the right place. Join me and special guests as we share our personal stories as galactic ground crew here on Becoming Iris.
Welcome, Chrissie.
Oh, thank you, Iris. Thank you very much for the invitation.
I'm really excited to have you here. I love chatting to you. And I just wanted to introduce you from my personal perspective. So I acknowledge Keone Hanalei as having brought us together, which is really interesting because we're both in Australia. I'm on the West Coast, Chrissie's on the East Coast. But I was at that time, which I think this was 2019, I was into studying with the Lemurian and the Mu ways, and Keone had been a teacher. And he shared a post about Chrissie. It was a picture of her and what she was doing in the world. And immediately when I saw your face, Chrissie, I was like energetically drawn to you. Didn't know anything about you. That night, I dreamt of you. And I went back to your page and you had a course, which was Manifestrix, starting, I think, the following day. So I signed up. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what you were doing, but it was a full body yes from me. And then what unfolded sort of this journey over the last 4 years has been absolutely life-changing, the work that I did with yourself and with Liz Gilbert Grant. So yeah, I can honestly say that in my self-development journey of looking at many things over the last few decades, that this has been keys that have unlocked so much in my life. And I'm so grateful for you. So I would love for you just to share in your own words who you are and who you be in the world, what it is that you do, and all of the things that you'd like to share about yourself.
Oh, thank you, Iris. I want to first acknowledge how much I love that way that you live. Do you know, like listening to intuition, doing things spontaneously from spirit. That is so refreshing in our world. So good on you, sis. Okay, well, I love this question because it's always evolving. My answer is always evolving. I want to stay on the edge with who I am. And I know for sure that I'm definitely a mother. I'm pretty sure of that part. The journey of motherhood, even before I became a mother, from being a little one, feeling the energy of motherhood, being an adolescent, feeling the energy of motherhood, like that's mama's instinct and that mama's sort of role to nourish and support feels like it's informed a lot of my journey and a lot of what I do. In that I just love people. I love humanity. I just can fall in love with even the most naughty, cheeky, wretched humans. I can fall in love with them so quickly. Just feel people so much in their hearts. And so I'm mama medicine kind of lady, and I guess I've always been fascinated with the spiritual aspect of life. And so, did a lot of seeking and studying and traveling and questioning, and you have, and I'm always wanting to keep up that part of my path. But in that path, I guess I found lots of really great keys and lots of really great teachers, big chunk of that is the time I've spent in Peru, which has really informed, again, a lot of not who I am, but what I love. Do you know what I love? And that is ceremony. So I consider myself a ceremonialist. I love the focusing on prayer, and celebration actually is a big part of my path. So I would call myself an MC of celebrations. And so that takes me to gathering people. So I'm a good gatherer. I have a talent to gather people. And so I do that with events and retreats or gatherings and workshops, and sort of outside of my work life, I used to love, haven't done it so much lately, but gathering people around my dining table, gathering people in my kitchen. Just, I love hosting and being that mama hen and bringing people together. And so I do a lot of that. And yeah, I created a little foundation called the Mana Movement. And so a lot of the things I love, which is people and their hearts, and helping them with their hearts, and then the ceremonies and the gatherings, it's all sort of housed in the Mana Movement, which is my offering, my humble offering to our planet at this time to reactivate humans. So that's I think that's the bottom line of what I do, not what I am, but what I am choosing to do because of passion. I love to help reactivate humans' hearts one by one, just that little bit more, just that little bit more, just that little bit more, because I know the ripple effect is bigger than we can ever perceive or conceive. So yeah, I think that's it.
You say a little foundation, but it is actually, the work that you do is international. And I feel that that's only going to grow. I know that this year you had events over in Europe, and you obviously have things in Peru, but is that still, part of your vision, that this work will go all around the world? Or
100%. Yes, in fact, we have solid plans to be based in America and based in Ireland in next year, even as well as here in Australia. And so that's not events, that's bases, with events and teams happening regularly. So really, you opened the whole conversation with that living from inspiration, divine inspiration, and going with your gut, so to speak, or your heart. That's how we're growing Mana as well. So the intention is to take this work to as many humans as would like it. We want to be available to as many people as possible. But yeah, it's growing it from feeling, and from collaboration and connections, like from putting in relationships. It's not just plopping ourselves anywhere, it's building strong relationships, and then collaborating with those relationships, which feels really integral and really beautiful.
What was the words that were coming to mind just then was like grassroots. It's almost as though it will just organically grow where there's the people and the desire, and this kind of feels the energy that we're moving into collectively. It's more of an Aquarian, a grassroots up, rather than like, oh, we want to have this plan and go to this country and then that country. Just growing organically where the people are and the people are interested in the offering.
That's exactly right. And it's really, I get very excited about collaboration and shifting ourselves to work with another in a new way. Being creative, like how creative can we be? How, like with Mana, we have, let's say, a little pot of gold, let's say, this beautiful work and these keys that we have. I feel like our role at Mana at the moment is seeing how many different ways we can transform that work so it can be collaborative with as many different people or organizations as possible, so that it becomes a co-creation as much as possible, and so that we are, what's the word I'm looking for, when evolving, really evolving. We're not doing the same thing in the same way with the same people. It's I think at this moment, Iris, with where we're at on the planet, we are really being asked to evolve, not just as individuals on our spiritual paths, but in our organizations. It's like, no, we've got to keep evolving, stay on the edge of creation, let go of attachment of what we think this is, what we have done, and be ready to meet the moment, you know. Yeah, so it's exciting living like that too, not holding on tightly to things that work or things that we have done and going, right, no, fresh moment in time, fresh collaboration, who's in? What are we doing this time?
And
Yeah.
I feel that that's one of the things I most admire about you, not just in how you run your organization, but also personally, is your ability to pivot and be like, okay, now I'm doing this and now I'm doing that. It's not stagnant, and that you're not inside any mold or expectation, even expectations you might have put on yourself. But one of the things that you didn't touch on before is, I feel, you as an artist. And I love that you are just genuinely an artist, and that you bring that creativity, your artistry, to everything that you do. So I'd just love you to share a little bit about that aspect of you, because I find that really interesting.
Oh, it's so interesting you said that, because I also thought, oh, I haven't talked about the art, the artist in me. Oh, well, and then you picked it up. Yes. Gosh, when I think about that, I just feel the senses, you know, like the first thing that comes to heart is senses, sensuality, you know, and how every way we experience life, whether it is through touch, through taste, through listening, has the opportunity to be filled with beauty, you know, like filled with beauty every single way we live. And how it's through art and appreciating art. And it's not about being an artist. I think we all are artistic, and it's not about paint on a canvas. It can be the way you speak. It can be, you know, the way you comb your hair, you know, like there's a creative opportunity in every moment to do things a little differently. And it's actually what keeps our spirit alive, is creativity. And you see that when people lose their sense of creativity or their imagination, they become sort of grayer and become very predictable, you know, like it's hum. But art and creativity does keep us evolving, really. And yeah, I have such a passion for, when I think of art, I think of poetry, I think of the way that we can use words to feel the most incredible sensations in our hearts, in our bodies, in our mind, and how we can be flooded with imagery in our mind from words alone, and how words can be used to ignite someone, you know, like we could write a paragraph and we could write it in 4, 5, 6 million different ways. And just a little shift of this word over here and that full stop there, and can actually completely ignite another being's spiritual purpose just through our use of words. And this is the power of art. And so, you know, myself, I love that, writing and poetry, and the power of the written word, and then the delivery of those words in speaking, the power of speaking or orating, you know, acting, even drama, all of that. I love that. It's just so exciting. I'd love to do more drama and theater, and then, you know, I love music. I just love music and the creation of it. And I do really want to record another album at least. But there's a musical project that I have in my heart that I'm so committed to. Doesn't feel like it's quite the time to land in the 3D yet, but it's coming. And yeah, that will be an amazing collection of prayers, really. I don't feel there's songs, but prayers, and then they'll be toured. They'll be toured, and it'll be a big prayer ceremony performance that, well, yeah, it'll be amazing. I'm so excited about that. Thank you for reminding me of that, because I want to bring more of that into my everyday life. So yeah, but art is, I don't know, it's the sauce. SAUCE. It's the sauce, of life. It makes everything colorful and juicy and textured. So art is very, very important to me. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I feel it's like almost just such a universal language, like art and music and all of the things you shared, because we don't always need to understand, like, although you shared about the words, but sometimes it's beyond that. Like, people can just, they might not understand the word, but the feeling, it's this sharing of this emotion, and people can connect through art or artistic expression where they might not be able to connect in another way. It's almost like a common ground where a lot of people can come together, through your song or through your whatever this artistic offering is. It's just such a place that people can connect across time and space, and they can see a picture and then that can express 1,000 words. So, or hear a song and immediately feel what you're trying to express. So I love that, and I love you as an artist, and I'm looking forward to your next musical offering.
Thank you.
I would love for you to share a little bit more about Peru and how that came to be and your connection there, because I understand that it's really foundational, it feels like, to everything that you offer, like the teachings and the cosmology and your relationships there. And also I understand that you were invited to almost be like a bridge to bring people to those lands. So I'd love for you to share about your relationship with Peru and the people there, and how that's unfolded in this lifetime.
Absolutely. Thank you. I had no clue that I had a connection to the Andes, not a clue in the world. When I signed up for a trip to Peru, it wasn't because of any kind of spiritual calling, although it must have been, but I didn't feel it. I just didn't feel it. I was going over to meet an American teacher, and I would have met him in the Philippines if it was there that he was doing his event. It wasn't about Peru, but as soon as I got there, it was about Peru. It was that those mountains had called me back, and it came in really fast. It came in really quickly. Within a couple of days of being there, I started to have experiences that were unexplainable, and with the plant medicine Wachuma, and having experiences of feeling the mountains coursing up my legs and in my ears. You're home again, but it wasn't in any audible language. It was a feeling of being welcomed home. I was so shocked. I was in disbelief, definitely. I didn't really take it in. And then, more signs and symbols. Coca leaf readers saying, oh, yes, you've spent many lives in the Andes and you're back now, but your mama's never going to let you go again. And that's interesting. And I still kind of stayed in disbelief, I have to admit. I'm always one to take information that people hand to us with a grain of salt, not believing anything unless it is really feeling resonant and true in your own body and self. So this was all very interesting. Yeah, and I spent a month there my first time, and it just kept getting louder and louder with every experience I had over there. And then I left and went straight back 6 months later with my 2 small children at that time. I had fallen in love, most certainly, with the Andes, and I did feel very connected. And yeah, I went back 6 months later with my babies, and I was there for 4 months, and I started to deepen the spiritual bonds with the Eros tribe, who are the wisdom keepers of the Andes. They are the last descendants of the Inca. I had met a couple of them on that first trip. And although they didn't speak much Spanish at all, they speak Quechua. I didn't speak certainly any Quechua, but only a tiny bit of Spanish. So we weren't communicating with words, but there was telepathy and communication happening spiritually on that first trip that I couldn't really make out. I knew it was happening, though. It was obvious to me it was happening, but I couldn't really catch it. It felt so fine. And then when I went back, I started to strengthen a connection with one of these two Keros men. They're actually brothers, but there was one in particular that really, I don't know what it was, but Lewis just was onto me. He was onto me. And I remember doing a workshop over there in Cusco. It was a workshop I was running a lot of here in Australia. It was called Sacred Sound. It was an 8-hour workshop that was more like a very deep shamanic dive into the voice and heart. And I was doing one over there, and he saw a poster for it. Couldn't read it, but he saw it, and he said to a mutual friend, "What is this? I need to be at that." And Simon said, "Oh, that's Chrissie's workshop. That's that lady, that Australian lady. That's her workshop, and it's up at the Temple of the Moon. And I have to go to that. I must be there." Apparently, I didn't know this. And the next thing on the day, Simon, my friend that I'd met there 6 months prior, he walks into the garden with this little Keros shaman that I remember clearly, and they're walking in together. "Chrissie, you remember Lewis?" Says Simon. I'm like, "Yeah, I remember Lewis." And he said, "He feels he needs to be here today. He wants to be of service to you." It's like, okay, sure. I'm happy to have him backing me. Sure, no problem. And he basically just sat in the garden outside the little maloka, the little ceremony space where we had this workshop. He sat outside in a chair, just pretty much meditating and holding space for me all day. And every now and then, when it was in deep process, or I would glance out at him, and he would just be looking at me, and he would nod his head slightly and like, yes, yep. And he would just close his eyes again and go back into deep meditation. And so we started to really create a bond. I was like, this man, he was really there for me on my first trip when I had a really big experience that was multidimensional and took me back to past lives. He was right there. And then there he is the second time I come back. Boom, who is this man? What's going on? Now I left again, 4 months and off. I left again, came back to Australia. And then months after, he had a very clear dream of me being, like you said, a bridge person and bridging many, many souls to the teachings of the Andes. And so he woke up from this dream and proposed this to that man that had helped us prior, Simon. And Simon called me, "Chrissie, would you like to bring people to the Andes?" I said, "Well, I guess yes, I would love." Wow. Well, Lewis has dreamt that that's what's happening, that apparently you are bringing many, many people to these teachings. And so that's how my work there started. I already had built a solid community with my work here, and people that trusted me and trusted what I was doing. And so when I announced, "Okay, all right, we're going to Peru," boom, all these people just piled in a week, and this tour, this trip filled like instantly. And it was like, oh my God, better put on a second one. Boom, that one filled up. And my friends that were helping me in Cusco said, "We have never seen tours fill as quickly as this." And I thought, okay, this is what Lewis was seeing. And then sure enough, it was just, they were so successful and beautiful that people, it just rolled and grew and rolled and grew. And 10 years later, I'm still doing this and doing it in a different way each time. Like we said earlier, it's all about shifting and changing and working with different people and working with different facilitators over there, medicine men and women, and making sure I stay on the edge of my path so that nothing is, just prefabricated, let's say. It's like, no, it's got to be fresh and on the edge. And so that is what happens. And yeah, it's been absolutely incredible. I I could write a whole bunch of books about the last 10 years and work there, and even just my path there, like just what I have been seen and been gifted and had awakened in me. And I do see it as the most profound healing lands, and so activated. That whole Sacred Valley is activated, and there's temples and portals and just everywhere. And I've only scratched the surface over there. Really, it's just never ending magic in the Sacred Valley. And a lot of people who have come with me have the same feeling, like they have gone back again and again, sometimes with me, other times on their own with their families. But it is, if you fall in love with that place, it's got you. And you just have to go back. You just feel so drawn, and it's because it's so generous with its magic and its healing and its wisdom. You receive so much, Iris, when you go there. You receive so much. You really do feel like your spiritual cup is overflowing when you leave. You can't believe it. And I highly recommend anyone listening to experience it, like as quickly as possible. It's profound. Absolutely profound. And I'm excited to hear that you are excited to walk those lands as well. Like I'm very excited for you, Iris. Go for it.
I really am. And when you were sharing, a few things were coming to mind, which is that I feel like it was even before I met you, or certainly in the early days, I remember seeing your tattoo of the Inca cross. And I didn't know that's what it was, but I'd had a vision of a wall with the Inca cross on it. And the wall was breathing, and it was almost like an invitation to come. And then I had some synchronistic events of like seeing your tattoo, and then I saw a man at the beach. He also had it tattooed on his side. And I reached out to you and I was like, what is this cross? And you're like, it's the Inca cross. So I actually had booked to come. I had booked my flights and everything to go to Peru with you last year, but for different reasons, it wasn't the right time. And I know that for me, I'm planning to come with you in this December, but it's almost like I've had to undergo certain initiations in myself. But when I go there, because I can feel the energy of it, it's been calling me, but to be at a certain place, like in myself, so that when I go there, I can be open to those lands and that energy and receive whatever it is I need to receive, and give, probably, because it feels like this reciprocal, relationship. But yeah, I'm so excited, and I feel that, as you said, getting quick, like I just feel that more and more people are going to be called to Peru, to these powerful places where the energy and the wisdom has been kept alive. Like you said, the Keros people, they've kept this magic, I want to say, alive. And that's what is of interest to me, is with these indigenous, where they've been able to keep the wisdom, keep the magic, despite forces that might have wanted to dampen that or to kill that out. Like they've managed to do that. So that's what is so inspiring to me, is these people, the people that you have these relationships with, and how they live their life. Because it's not just this is what I understand, it's not just, oh, every now and then we do this. It's a daily way of living, like that. They live their life in prayer, they live their life moving with great spirit, and that is how they move. So that's what I'm passionate about, is that magic. So
oh gosh, you're going to love it. You're going to absolutely love it. And you're right. That's such a good point that you raised, that like so many indigenous wisdom traditions that were traumatized, have been heavily traumatized by colonialism and displacement, which is just so horrific. And we can't even begin to imagine the suffering and the upset that is there. The Keros have, although they were displaced in that they sensed the Spanish coming and they withdrew very high into the mountains, so that they weren't colonized, and they have kept those teachings and that cosmology, which is Lemurian in nature. They have kept that intact, and they haven't been, so heavily traumatized where they don't want to share it, and they want to guard it so carefully, because of which we can see a lot in the world where there has been horrendous stuff occur. Some indigenous tribes, they don't want to share anymore, thank you very much, because they've been through horror. The eros are different, the teachings are different. They are freer. They feel the transmission of it is very, very generous. They're very generous, and it is in transmission. A lot of it, we don't understand the language Quechua. It's not necessarily oral. It is sitting with them and opening up your energy field and just receiving the codes via osmosis. It's unsaid, but it's very felt. And yes, you will love it, sister. It's right up your alley.
I'm excited. So
Yeah.
I know that you've got a lot of different offerings. I'd love you to share, what you've got coming up, how people can get involved. And there's sort of two distinct parts to your work. So you have like the coursework, which is the humanity work, and then you also have like your in-person retreats and
yes,
things like that. So can you just share a bit about what you have available if people are interested, and then I'll put all the links and things below, but just talk into the magic of what's unfolding.
absolutely. Thank you. So there really is, yes, two arms, very simply put, two arms or two ways we offer these reactivations to humanity. One is in the course room with the Humanity Workshop. So the Humanity Workshop is a weekend seminar, and that is really the most powerful of all of our offerings by far. That is the one that creates lifelong shifts and changes in hearts and their relationships and your path. And so I'm always directing people to that if they're thinking, I'd love some help with my evolution, with my path, the Humanity Workshop. And so currently we are presenting that in Byron Bay and in Melbourne. They're the two places that we're offering that course, and we're going to be doing them every 3 months in Byron and in Melbourne, and it is worth traveling for. We do have people flying over from Western Australia for the Melbourne course, for the Byron course in 10 days' time. We do have people moving all over the country to sit that course, and it is worth it. And so that is exciting, the 10 keys there that unlock everything. And then the other arm is the retreats, or the gatherings, the weekenders. So we have lots of different things lined up. We have the 3-night weekender, which is a bush camping experience where we throw the phones away and we are on country, and we are deeply listening, and we're dancing, and we're around the fire, and we're eating around the fire, and we're doing Andean sweat lodge, and we're working with plants, and we're working with somatics and yoga or qigong, and there's a lot of laughter, and there's babies and kids and elders, and it's really like these tribal gatherings, and they're very popular and they're very powerful. So we have the weekenders. They will be regular in northern New South Wales. Again, we've got people flying over from Western Australia for the next one. And in time, we will be holding them outside of Melbourne too. We want to start running the weekenders outside of Melbourne. So they are a regular offering, the weekenders. They're called the Vibe. And then we have the longer retreats, so the 10-day offerings, or this 5-night offering we have in California next month, where we will also be doing the Humanity Workshop. But then we have the 10 days in Peru in December. Next year, we'll be going back to Europe, offering the Humanity Workshop in Ireland, offering our women's sailing retreat in Croatia in June, which is stunning. Bali in November for 10 days. That'll be a humanity retreat. So we'll be doing the workshop. And those events and those offerings change all the time. Where we'll be next with a retreat, it's best to keep in touch with our newsletter or on the website. But yeah, that humanity workshop is really where I'd personally like to direct people first to, because that's the one I see by far the most sustained change in hearts and families. And I think I'd particularly like to invite people to, yes, this Equilux gathering in California, because we're doing the humanity workshop, but it's also 5 nights of so much more. And the value of that event is profound. You're basically getting the humanity workshop for free there. It's an incredible value on that event. And so, yeah, I'm warmly inviting everyone listening to come and experience one of our events, because it's actually in the energy of it. And I know you know this, Iris. There's something special that we've got going on here at Mana that you feel when you come. It's not your average event. They're not I like to put it as, this particular energy that we're cultivating, or a frequency, it's kind of like a reminder. It speaks directly to your heart and reminds you what we're all about, what humanity is actually all about. And it's so needed at this time on this planet, when we are like, where are we going? What is happening? Where are we going? Well, we're going home, but a lot of us have forgotten what that is. And it is a frequency. It's not a place. It's not an action. It's a frequency. And we are doing our best to reactivate that frequency in people's hearts with these events. It's something that's very felt. It's not in what we do, it's how we're doing it. And so, yeah, I'm so happy about what we're doing. The magnetism is strong. We had an event in Melbourne last weekend, and watching what happened at this humanity workshop to people, and all of a sudden all their family want to come. Everyone's like, oh, I've got all these people that want to experience what I just experienced, because the family can feel it. They get it. They can feel it. Wow, my sister's different. What is going on? It's a feeling. It's felt. So that's what we're rippling out. And we warmly invite everyone to come and experience it with us.
Love that. And I just want to share for myself, I'm one of those people that's flown over from WA. So I've flown over many times to do all of the offerings, and, some of them multiple times. But I really also encourage people that are listening, if you are in a place where the Mana movement isn't currently, providing in-person things, and you want those, you can reach out to Chrissie through her website and say, hey, because we had last year we had something in Perth. So if there's enough people, then you will go to different places, wouldn't you? Like, if there's a demand for that, then that's something that, obviously they can travel, but also, like, if there was all of a sudden a lot of people in a certain city who were like, we want to do something, I'm sure that you would look at going wherever there's a demand. And, if you can get together a group that want to do this with the humanity workshop, and you had, say, 12 people, that you could probably put something on for them.
100%. Yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely. That we were saying earlier, it's all about relationships. So if people, like you said, feel like, gosh, I'd like to experience this, well, let's create a relationship. It has to start from a commitment on both sides to connect and create. Of course, anything's possible. And we're all about collaboration, like I was saying. So, yes, the sky is the limit, really,
Yeah. And it is worth traveling as well. So I know that with your Europe events, you had people from all over coming to that. And people do travel. So don't let that be a barrier, that you can actually join in from anywhere. It's exciting, Chrissie. I'm really excited to see what your next evolution will be as well, because I know that you're always looking at changing and expanding. And really, really honored to have you on the show today. And I'm sure that we'll have you back a later date with your next iteration. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Iris. It's lovely to be here and connect with your audience, whoever's out there listening. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Chrissie. All right.